Perhaps the best cast-on for beginners to learn knitting is the technique called basic longtail cast-on. This is a cast-on made by hanging a thread with your finger. However, there are some aspects where tension control is unexpectedly difficult, so today I will explain the tips for making it beautiful. To understand the structure of the basic longtail cast-on, let's first explain the cast-on called loop cast-on. Hold the needle and thread end in your left hand and use your right hand to twist the thread and hang it on the needle. The structure is very simple and easy to understand. However, because it is simple, the stitches are not stable, and it may be difficult for beginners to knit the first row or control the tension. Here is the state where the first row is knitted. The thread at the bottom is spiral. This is the structure of loop cast-on. With this in mind, let's take a look at basic longtail cast-on. Secure a thread that is about 3 times as long as the width of the knitted fabric you want to make. In other words, if you want to make a knitted fabric with a width of 10 cm, you need a thread of 30 cm as cast-on. In addition, add about 20 cm as a margin when holding it in your hand. First, tie a knot called slipknot. Wrap the thread around your finger and pull out the thread on the thread inside from the hole created in this way. Tighten the knot and you're done. Put the needle in your right hand into the loop of thread and tighten it. This is the first stitch. Hold the thread with your left hand. At this time, hang the thread on the thread inside on your thumb and hold it, and divide the thread in 2 directions. From here, move the needle as shown in the video to hang the thread. What we are doing is making a loop with the thread on the inside and pulling out the thread on the ball side from the loop. You can see the structure well by changing the color. Strictly speaking, the way the threads overlap in the spiral part is different, but overall it is very similar to loop cast-on. Let's look at a not so good example of how the thread is pulled. At first glance, cast-on seems to be done at a good tempo, but this is too tight the thread. If you make cast-on like this, the bottom of the knitted fabric will shrink. As a countermeasure, it is sometimes explained that cast-on should be made loosely, but this is not accurate. Recall that the bottom thread had a spiral structure. If you pull this thread too hard, cast-on will shrink. Therefore, the correct answer is to pull this thread loosely. On the other hand, the thread hanging on the needle is a stitch structurally pulled out of the loop. Therefore, It is important to hang this thread on the needle at appropriate intervals rather than knitting it loosely. Based on this, I will try basic longtail cast on. Make a loop and pull out the thread. The thread that hangs on the index finger is the thread that becomes the stitch. Pull this thread and position it so that there is a gap of about 1 needle from the next stitch. When knitting knitted fabric, there is a space of about 1 needle between the loops on the needle. In the case of cast on, the thread is hung so that it is the same. After deciding the position of the loop, press it with your index finger. If you also press the lower thread with your thumb, the pulling condition will be stable. Now, be careful not to over-tighten and pull the thread. It is okay with just enough force to touch the base of the loop. Repeat this to make cast on. If you do this, the cast on part will not shrink. This is the explanation of basic longtail cast on. Surprisingly delicate tension control is necessary to make it beautiful. I hope this helps you. Thank you for your viewing.